What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Midwest Outdoors Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Jim O'Neill, and welcome back to another exciting week. This week, as you can tell, we're out of the office again, and we are exploring the great Green Bay area. Right now, we're in the bottom part of Door County, right north of Sturgeon Bay, and we're doing a little ice fishing, right? 'Tis the season, and there's so many cool fish you can catch here in Green Bay, which really makes it so amazing. You know, if it's open water, it's my favorite to come up here and fish for smallmouth. It has some incredible musky fishing, and the walleye fishing is second to none, especially during the run or when they get suspended off the islands here. Truly some unbelievable fishing right here in the heart of Wisconsin on the east side and in the largest bay of Lake Michigan, Green Bay. So, little setup. Oh, my buddy next to us is hooked up. But what we're showing right now, what we're doing, guys, is we have a paddle tail. We're working about a 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce jig head with a little paddle tail. Got some Kitex and some fish daddies. Go up 9 to 12 inches, and we got this nice little sliding hook. We're working 1 or 2 wax worms on there, and that's just if the fish are eating a little lighter. Most of the fish are hitting this bottom bait. We're gonna drop this down, guys, and see if we can't catch some Green Bay whitefish today. I see a fish on the screen right now, so I'm gonna drop down. And right now we're in a permanent house set up outside in the Bay of Green Bay. And that's what this whole show is about this week. And some of the guides and people that live around it and fish it, because it is an extraordinary fishery. The cool thing about these fish are the whitefish is quite a pelagic fish. You know, it stays out in the depths almost year round. They school up in large schools and hunt together, look for food. You know, right now we're fishing between 60 and 80 feet. It seems like right now, the little bit of shallower we've been getting some more bites, but it can change on the day. So yeah, fishing that kind of depth is definitely different. If you guys are coming up here to the Door County area or the Sturgeon Bay area for whitefish, make sure you have a lot of line. I highly recommend utilizing braid, because when you're 50 to 60 feet down, you're not going to feel those bites if you have stretch like monofilament. So you want that braid not only to have more line on your spool, but also so that you have less stretch and you feel those bites, because these fish, although pretty big and fun, they have a light bite. All right, everyone. Well, hey, we are hooked up with a whitefish. At least that's all I think that swims out here in this 60 feet water. It's really cool, especially if you're a young fisherman or new to ice fishing. It's pretty wild fighting these fish up 60, 70, 80 feet. You know, it's pretty cool. So you guys can see this thing's pulling pretty good. Pretty good pull. Oh, yeah, it's a nice one, actually. It's really a nice one, actually. Oh. And there we have it. The Green Bay whitefish. That's a pretty nice one. It's a pretty big one. See that paddle tail right in the mouth? Ate it. And that's what we're doing. We're jigging, pounding the bottom. And like we said, we're running that 2-rig system, that 2-hook system. So we got that paddle tail on the bottom and the wax worm about a foot or so above it. But yeah, that is a big fat whitefish. Now, since we're going to be talking to a few different guides today, I thought it would be educational maybe to go over what you should expect when booking a guide and maybe some of the things to think about when booking a guide. First things first, where do you want to go, right? Some guides are very regional, some are very local, and some only guide one body of water. So first of all, do you want to chase a certain species? Do you want to fish a certain body of water? Or do you want to fish with a certain guide? Maybe his reputation is why you want to go out and learn from him. After all, in my opinion, that's the most important thing when booking a guide. Don't think of it as a money grab. You know, don't think of it as a one-day event to just catch fish. To get the most out of your dollar when you go out with a guide, remember that these are professional fishermen. A lot of them just don't have the funds or the time to go on tour, but a lot of them could fish the professional walleye or the bass tour. These are the best sticks in their area. They make a living off going fishing, and they're on the water all the time, which means they can always keep up with what the fish are doing, and when they're changing, what the changes are. So think about those three questions. Where do I want to go? Who do I want to fish with? And what do I want to catch? And that's going to eliminate about 95%, 97% of all the guides. And then once you make that decision on where you want to go or what you want to fish for, if it's not the guide himself, then pull up your list of guides. References are always good. If you have a friend that's gone out with someone and they enjoyed their time, it's always good to go with someone that's got a good reference. Of course, you can go online now and look up reviews. But, don't go in blind. Not everyone is a certified guide. Not everyone has insurance. Not everyone gives you the amenities that all the others give. So look into what you're doing. If they have a website, look into their website, see what they offer, and know what to expect. Pretty much just know that the average guide will have all the equipment for you. They'll take you out on the ice or out on the water safely. That's expected. And they should have insurance. If they're a legal guide, they should have insurance that covers you out on the water. And that's all important because you are out in the elements sometimes. So do your homework before you book a guide and ask around. The fishing community will be glad to answer. Now, when I decided I wanted to do a show up here to show off Green Bay, because it is truly one of my favorite fisheries in the Midwest, a bunch of names came to mind that are up here. Some of the guys that I watched growing up fishing this area, Dale Stroheim and Brett Alexander. So the first call I did make was Brett of Alexander Sports Fishing, and he was all booked up. 30 houses or so, all booked with fishermen, people catching their limits of whitefish left and right. But thankfully to the guide community up here, he gave one of his fellow guides a call, Nolan of Top Gun Charters, and he got us out here in a beautiful heated house with rods and the baits that these whitefish are eating right now. So we're out here, we're trying some of our own things too, but we'll be right back after this quick commercial break with Nolan himself and sit down and talk about what it's like being a guide here on Green Bay.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at mwomag.com. That's mwomag.com.
All right, everyone, welcome back to the podcast. Thanks for sticking through that commercial break. Hey, we're right here with my buddy Alex, and we did about a 180. We went from the east side of the bay to the west side and doing a little perch jerking today. So what's going on, Alex?
Mostly we're out here on the west shore chasing these jumbo perch around. Just had a big snowstorm, so we're out here in the fluff. You guys can't see it in here, but definitely after a front condition came through and trying to get some big perch on the ice.
Absolutely. Now, the first ice fishing I ever did up in the bay was up in Little Sturgeon doing some perch fishing about 6 years ago. Shout out to my boy Zach for having the Door County house to allow us to do a lot of fishing up here. I say it all the time. We talked about it the first time you were on the podcast. I mean, it's just a fishing mecca up here. You have so much that you can fish for. we fished for whitefish yesterday, tried the walleye last night, didn't happen. It's been a tough walleye bite, huh, this year?
Yeah, this year's been really awkward. We got some first ice, and ever since then, it's just kind of been extinct. You go out, maybe 3-4 times, and you might only get one. So definitely hoping that when March comes and that ice starts melting, and we start getting on the walleyes again.
Down by us in Chicago, oh my God. Sorry, I got so distracted by the marks that came in so large.
They might be walleye we're talking about.
Oh, yeah.
And they don't care.
No, they turned out early. And we saw some fish like that actually rolling through that looked like they were walleye or smallies, right on the bottom. I've heard a few reasons on why some people think the walleye fishing's got real tough up here the last couple of years. And they say it's because the water's so clear and it's losing a lot of that that algae, which you're losing the little tiny insects then, and you're losing the mini bait fish, and then the bigger bait fish, and then you're losing the big fish. Is that a little truth to it, or what do you think?
Yeah, so me personally, from fishing the bay a lot the last 5 years, hardcore, I would say, we've seen a decrease in our population. A lot of us guides and tournament fishermen out every day, we've definitely seen the numbers go down. So it's gotten tougher in that aspect. But just like back to what you were saying, the smelt has went down, the alewife has went down. So these walleyes are becoming a little more lethargic now, and they're becoming eating gobies off the bottom a lot more. Mm-hmm. And now when you have them walleyes eating gobies, they're not as willing to come up and chase something as a jigging wrap or a crankbait or something up in the column more. So it's definitely made them more of a bottom feeding type of fish. And they're a little tougher to catch now, but the perch have been saving us this winter, and we've been getting some nice perch and whitefish and everything else to make up for the tough walleye bite.
Yeah, but no, it's true. When you can put a big meal, because these gobies are starting to get big, especially compared to the other bait fish. When that's such an easy meal, they can't dart away or swim away very fast. Those fish can just come down and eat them. In fact, when we were out yesterday doing the white fishing, the first time I ever did that, it was like you would only drop down spoons, and to emulate, your shiner or something like that. But now they have us dropping down green pumpkin and green colored paddle tails on the bottom to emulate the goby, So in a few years, that presentation has changed a little bit, it seems like.
Yeah, and it's also very weird too, because a lot of these guys are going out and targeting whitefish in the lower bay and stuff. They're actually catching more walleyes than the walleye guys are. We're going out with all our fancy baits and trying to catch these walleyes with jigging wraps and different baits like slab wrap, stuff like that, and they're actually catching more walleye on the whitefish bait, pounding them little plastics on the bottom. Yeah. Because why? They think it's a goby, so they're fooling them fish.
Exactly. Everything eats the gobies. The bass are bigger, the trout are bigger, everything's eating the goby. But now let's get back to these fish a little bit. So again, to just compare things a little bit, down in Chicago this year, we had a little bit of a off perch bite because the water was warmer than it normally is, and that kept the bait fish north of town, right? In the northern harbors and Milwaukee, Kenosha, stuff like that. And our big perch didn't show up as much, but Milwaukee, Racine, Kenosha had some of the best perch fishing in years. I have to believe that a lot of those perch were our Chicago perch that just followed the bait north. Now, my leading question for that is because, like I said, the first time I was ever ice fishing in Door County, it was for perch and little sturgeon. And we were catching a lot of nice perch. So my question is, are these some of those same perch, or can you catch them on the west side and on the east side, or do the fish kind of migrate in the bay?
That's a great question. I think we see huge migrations with all the fish. Yeah. And it all, obviously, like you said, depends where the bait goes. These fish are very bait dependent. With there not being as much of forage left besides the gobies, they are chasing around them clouds of bait. So early ice, we're seeing them in, certain situations, and within a couple weeks coming into February timeframe, boom, you can go back to them same places we were catching 14, 15, 16-inch perch early ice, and you can't even catch a keeper perch. Sure. So that definitely means they're migrating. And then there's spots like now obviously we're over on the West Shore, not in my backyard of Door County, and that's because a lot of them big perch, it seems like they migrated towards the West Shore now, and we're catching them over here.
Yeah. And soon, in about a month, the walleye will do the same. It kind of seems like people will catch them more on the west side first, then in the south, and then they kind of move over to the east once they're post spawn.
Yep. So it definitely is a very cool fishery in that fact. And all them fish, once that ice starts melting, and the perch will do the same thing, they'll start heading towards them rivers. They're looking for that warmer water, that dirtier water, and they're ready to spawn. So they're going to start heading over to the west shore and the lower bay of Green Bay and start putting on that feed bag before they spawn.
So right now, we're fishing between about 8 and 12 feet, depending on where we're at in this bay. In your opinion, I know there's no way of really knowing, but a lot of these fish are really light in color, right? So it seems like they're not hanging out so much in the weeds, and they're more basin fish or sand fish. So my question is, do you think some of these bigger perch are coming in from Lake Michigan, or do you think they're residential bay fish and they kind of, just come deeper in the bay to shallow?
That's a good question as well. I'm not a fish biologist, so
Sure.
I obviously couldn't tell you that. Me personally, I do think that a lot of them are bay fish and they're just moving around like we were talking about before, chasing them bait schools. But it's awesome because there's so many perch in the bay right now that it seems like you got weed fish, you got mudfish, you got sand and rock fish. So when we're fishing smaller bays like this, you'll see a variety in color in the perch. And I'm guessing that's because some of them are coming out deeper from that sand and mud. And there's also fish that are living in the weeds that are close by.
Yeah, that makes sense. The last few years, it really seems like the perch bite has been better than it's ever been, especially this part of the lake further up north. It's always been, we're known for the big perch down on the south end, but they're getting just as big, if not bigger, up here because they have more of the belly. I feel like we might grow them a little longer, but you guys get the big fat bellies on them up here.
Yeah, they're getting huge. I used to be a big fan of the Mississippi River, and I still am. When I was younger, we used to catch a lot of them, 15-inch perch on the Mississippi River. And now, the last couple of years, I haven't even felt the urge to leave Green Bay and go over there because we're catching so many 14, 15, 16-inch perch over here that it's just incredible. So we're hoping that keeps up and these fish stay in the system. So letting them big females go is very important.
It's obviously the largest freshwater bay there is. Definitely on our Great Lakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, it looks like it's its own lake.
Yeah, it's huge. There's so much to dissect and so much different water out there from deep to shallow and rock, sand, mud, weeds. There's a lot of different water that you could fish out here.
And we were talking about that last night about how a bay you think of shallow, right? What I don't know off the top of my head. It's something we can look up for sure, but that you've seen, what's the deepest water in this bay that you've seen?
150 feet.
150 feet in the bay. So it really does, you can break it down, especially if you're a tournament angler or coming out more so on your boat. It's just so much water. You need to break it down like a mini lake and take a section of it and break that down even.
Yeah, if you're just trying to come out here and, scramble and go over the whole thing, you're going to blow your mind into proportions. You're going to be like, whoa, what am I looking at here? So definitely is nice to kind of dissect little areas piece by piece, learn them, and then kind of expand your range and start learning the whole bay.
So we're here in the middle of February right now, and we've got the whitefish fishing going on, deeper water, and we're here, like we said, in the shallows, perch fishing. As the year progresses here, let's just cover the next, let's say, month or two. What are some things we can look forward to that will kind of happen and change on the bay, and what will start or what will die off, kind of?
So obviously the whitefish bite will stay steady throughout the rest of the winter. That's very common for a lot of people to come up to this area to fish for whitefish. It's something that's very productive. But for perch and walleye, a lot of these fish will start putting on the feed bags more. They're going to start looking for food. They're going to start pushing up shallower onto all the reefs and the shallow weed edges towards the west shore, towards the lower bay, heading into the current going towards these rivers. So that's a great thing to look forward to because we're only a couple weeks away from these giant walleyes ready to feed, and that gets us all jacked up. And the cool thing about when you're going for these bigger walleyes too is a lot of the time they're the same spots you're catching these giant walleyes and these big perch you have everything. You're catching pike, you're catching whitefish.
Right.
So we're getting in really shallow situations, sometimes 3-4 feet of water, and we're catching a huge variety of species. So that's always cool to look forward to that. And we're very excited that we have some good ice to take that opportunity this year and target everything.
Absolutely. I don't know if the weather's going to allow us, but one of those guides that we talked about that is definitely famous up in this area. Oh, that might be a little better one.
Oh yeah, this one's feeling a little better.
All right. Oh, well,
Yeah, that's okay.
But I have to say real quick, if you hold that fish out, that's only about a 5-inch fish or so.
Yep.
But the belly on it, they're all eating.
Look how fat it is.
Yeah, they're all eating. So when you get that, 8 or 9 incher, it looks a lot bigger than an 8 or 9 incher somewhere else. And when you get a 13 or 14, even 15 incher, they really look like little walleye out.
Yeah, the gut on them is insane. So far this winter, we have caught 3 perch that have touched 16 inches.
Wow.
But they have not weighed as much as you'd think. I mean, some of them were definitely blimps, but actually our biggest perch on the season so far, weight-wise, was a 15 3/4. It weighed 2.6 pounds.
Wow, 2.6 pounds.
I mean, the way that they fight, you would think that it is a walleye on the end of your line when you're pulling it up. They're easy to come off, bend hooks, break line. So being easy on them big perch is something that's definitely there. But when you land the thing, you're like, oh my God, it barely fits up the hole. That's how fat it is. They're spitting up gobies. They're spitting up all these smelt that they're eating. And you're like, why'd this thing eat my bait when it's spitting up all this food?
Absolutely. And, back on the perch topic for a second, there's not a whole lot that people really need if they want to come out and do this, right? If they're coming out by themselves, obviously we always recommend hiring a guide. We'll give your information to everyone in a second here. And the biggest thing is not to, necessarily catch more fish, which you will, but safety, right? When we were out here on the bay.
Yep. So we just had a situation in the last couple of days where we had a big wind pickup that opened up a lot of cracks on the bay, a lot of open water. Now we got the snowstorm that came in last night. Yep. That's covering a ton of these hot spots, we call them, which are thin ice spots or open water spots. So the biggest thing is just safety. We're always concerned about our safety, our client safety. So if you're coming out here on your own, please talk to somebody if you're not going to hire a guide. Figure out where you're going. Just make sure you're spud barring, taking your way out. Just because you see somebody else out in one area, don't mean that you're going to take the same path. So
yeah. And when you're on a river system or a Great Lake system like this, you can truly be on 20 inches of ice and 5 feet over beyond 2 inches of ice.
Yeah.
All about currents and springs and winds.
Correct. Yeah, a lot of people don't think there's current out here because it's a lake, but this whole system, why we have all these reefs and these rock edges and everything, them are caused from current. So the current will eat away from that sand. So there's a lot of areas out here that current is ripping through. So like you were saying, you could literally walk 5 feet and it's going to change the whole thickness of that ice.
We were just talking about it, I was set before we started filming this podcast. You were guiding a trip today. Yep. Got your customers a beautiful perch over 14 inches, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, that thing's a stud. And we were only about 100 yards away or so, and I was telling you, I think our ice was about 6 or 8 inches thicker than the ice here, which is crazy.
Yep, and we didn't even cross no cracks. We didn't cross no heaves, nothing. But there's definitely an ice change from over there to here, so that's always a concern. And not too far away from us, we have a big heave that came in the last couple days, and that is very dangerous to cross if you don't know what you're doing and how to cross it. Highly recommend when you're crossing something like that. A lot of us guides recommend putting a bridge over it, so that way you're safe when you're crossing it and you're not just driving over, a foot or two gap of ice where there is open water.
And to anyone that doesn't know what we're talking about, you guys literally put down crosses. You put down a bridge is the name of it, but it's not your normal bridge that you guys are used to back at home. They're literally like metal trusses that are pitched that go over, so you could put it on one sheet and another, because that's what kind of happens. And explain it if I'm doing it wrong, but that wind comes in and it might be plenty thick ice, but just that pressure creates a crack and they could separate. But then when they come back together, it could be fine within a day or two.
Yep, as long as it gets cold. But a big thing too is having that bridge. It allows you to cross these areas. Say the gap's open and it's a foot or two wide. Well, you drive over that, you might punch your tires through or something. And then you're gonna break up the ice. The ice can keg out. You're gonna go down. So you never want that. But even when that crack closes, that ice right in that crack might still be pretty weak. So having that bridge allows us to put one side on the solid sheet ice, another side on the other side of solid sheet ice, and that keeps us from going over that weak spot and breaking that out even more.
Yeah. In fact, you know, when that storm came in the other day, we saw people all over the state because it was kind of northern Wisconsin where that wind really was rough. I saw trucks blowing across lakes. I saw shacks going into cracks. So to be with a guide, you know, to be with someone who's getting some intel, knows the weather, knows the surrounding and the ice, because you're going out every day, you know, and that's what you need, because it can change overnight or it can change within a couple hours.
Yep, and obviously being safe is the most important thing. We were actually supposed to meet somewhere else today. We were going to go and fish a different area, but that crack opened up and there was a big gap, 10, 20 feet of open water. And then with the snow conditions coming in, yes, that crack might have closed overnight, but you're not going to want to walk into that situation and put yourself at risk. Better just to find somewhere else and go fish somewhere else.
Well, Alec, as always, you are a wealth of knowledge. Thanks for having us up. You know, it's fun to. It's always fun catching these perch. I don't care. I don't care if they're 6 inches or 12 inches. Something about a perch I just like. I think the colors on them are so cool, and they're aggressive little eaters. It's fun when they come in with a big pack, a big hunting pack, you know, and jump all over your baits.
Yep. Well, if you guys want to come out and obviously hire a guide, feel free. But if you do want to come out and do this on your own, all you need to do is bring some rods out, usually a light rod or a power noodle type of rod, something with a very sensitive tip. Run some light line, 2 to 4 pound test, and that's basically it. We're running smaller 500 or 1,000 size reels on our rods, and you could use a mix of little tungstens like this with the wax worm, or you could come out and you could use some more aggressive baits like a little spoon with a minnow head or a wax worm. And then obviously tip downs, bite me boxes, tip ups are very efficient as well. So don't be afraid to come out here, try jigging, try throwing out some lines outside the shack, and hopefully have a good time.
So yeah, like you said, all you need is, you know, a couple jig heads, maybe a jig and wrap I like, or a little spoon. The Fish Daddy products work great out here. Sometimes you don't even need live bait. You know, we're using minnows on our bite boxes today and waxies, but I've caught them on plastics, jigging plastics.
Oh yeah.
A tent is recommended when it's a little chilly out here. It gets cold out here.
Yep. Windy.
Yeah, it gets very windy, you know. But on a warm day, you don't even need a house. You don't need a heater. You really just need an auger, a couple rods, a bait, and a nice scoop helps because the hands get a little chilly.
Oh yeah.
But that's really it. You know, I saw plenty of guys out here, not even electronics. I know early ice, I've been told you can actually kind of sight fish for
them. Yeah, it's awesome. If you're in that clear water, you could sight fish for them. A lot of these guys will come out here too, and preferably we like to jig. We want to catch them on a rod. So some days jigging is really good. Some days the boxes or the tip downs are hotter. Yeah. But a lot of these guys will just come out here and they'll just set up 3 tip ups or 3 tip downs, and they'll just sit there and watch them. And when it's a nice day out, hey, why not sit outside, enjoy the beautiful scenery around that we have here, and catch some perch.
I love doing some flag chasing. You know, usually when I set up for flag chasing, we're talking pike, but hey, why not perch?
Oh, if they're 14, 15, 16 inches, you ain't gonna be complaining.
Absolutely. Well, hey, Alec, I know, I think I might see a bite me box flag up. So before we run outside, if people want to book you, how do they get a hold of you?
So if you want to book a trip with me for perch, pike, walleye, bass, we do it all year round. You could visit me on dyeardangling.com, or you can call 608-713-2402.
All right, guys, that's Alec of Die Hard Angling. But stay tuned. We're going to go to a quick commercial break, and then we're going to show you guys these bite me boxes because they are pretty sweet on a cold day.
Midwest Outdoors Magazine helps you enjoy the outdoors, giving you the best information on where to go, what to use, and how to use it. With fishing maps marked by the pros, nature notes, in-depth interviews, and much, much more. Your subscription gets you 10 big issues of the best in fishing, hunting, and the great outdoors. Plus, Midwest Outdoors Digital Edition gives you dozens of extra articles. Sign up now at mwomag.com. That's mwomag.com.
Alec, what's up?
What up? Got another box over here.
All right.
Hopefully it's a good one. Push that spool back.
Yep.
Nice and easy, hand over hand.
Feeling
There's
anything?
one on there.
Yeah.
See how big it is. Not feeling too big.
No.
Definitely got one on.
All right. Oh yeah.
There's a leader.
Oh yeah. Oh baby, look at that little baby. Little baby
But
perch.
hey, that box did its job.
Absolutely. And you know, what do we got going on here, Alec?
So this is a Bite Me box. They're locally made here in Wisconsin in the Green Bay area.
Okay.
They're very, very versatile.
Yep.
We use them for multiple different species. The key thing about these is on these cold days, you got a can of charcoal right here. That is keeping this box nice and warm, keeping your hole unthawed, keeping the spool nice and sensitive. All that oil in there will warm up. So sensitivity is a big thing when you're fishing for these perch especially. So you're gonna wanna make sure that you have that thing heated, have that charcoal going, and then also the spool on these and the flag system is very, very sensitive to where these fish are feeling almost no resistance, which is key. So when you're setting these Bite Me boxes, you wanna pull the lever and the weight up, pull the spool forward, and now set it very, very close to the edge. The sensitivity is all about where the spool is set. So you could have it set a little heavier for pike, walleye, or bass. And then if you want it for perch, I like to set it right on the edge. And then a key thing is to push that weight back just to take some of the pressure off there. So that is very light to the touch. The great thing about these Bite Me boxes is they're very easy to put away as well. So when you're done for the day or you want to move spots, you could reel the line up. I like to hit the clicker over here. That will engage that. And now all you need to do is reel this in. And they come with an awesome piece of cork right here to put your hook in. Throw your hook in that, reel that tight, shut your lid stop, box is put away and easy to go.
Alrighty, everyone. Well, hey, I know I told you Nolan was gonna be joining us, but Nolan's a little tied up right now. As you guys can see, we have a winter storm, a little blizzard.
A little blizzard, I would say.
Yeah, but no worries. We got my buddy Luke here, and he was helping guide us today. The awesome thing about Top Gun up here is they had people checking in all day. Not only the owner, Nolan, you know, he had his whole crew coming out and checking in on us, and they showed us how it was done. You know, they walked in the shack a few times and jigged and caught a fish right away.
That's the whole goal, you know, when you show up in the morning, what you want to do is you want to get the customer set up, you want to get them fishing correctly so they can have the best experience they possibly can. If you don't, they don't know what they're doing, it's going to be a long day sitting in the shack all day.
Yeah, no doubt. You know, especially, I know there's a lot of guides out there these days. You know, that's what we're kind of talking about, differences between captains and guides and services and, you know, all these different options because there's so many people
right,
out there
absolutely.
now.
It's hard to go on the internet and pick the right person to do the job. I mean, it doesn't take much to get a guide's license. Or getting a captain's license, obviously you have to go through a course and everything to get one of those, but a guide's license, anybody can do it. So you need to make sure when you're online choosing people that you're getting a reputable company, that you actually know that they have good reviews, that they're actually running a fair amount of trips, and they're also safe when you're out here on the ice.
Yeah, safety's huge. Like you guys see right behind us, you know, when you're on big water, whether it's Erie, Bay to Knock, you know, here in Green Bay, wind and current can change within minutes.
Oh, absolutely. You can have cracks that can open up at any single point. The ice can move around when it's not locked in all the way on the other side of the bay. Anything can happen. So you want to make sure you always have the right safety equipment, GPSs, airboats, everything that you need to safely get your customers on and off the ice so they can have the best experience they possibly can.
Absolutely. And so once we take care of the safety though, then it's time to catch fish, right?
Absolutely, absolutely.
And talk about what the bay has to offer a little bit.
So the bay, so what we're doing right now is we're running all complete whitefish trips. So there is other species of fish you can catch out here on the bay, perch, walleyes, bunch of different stuff, but we're primarily targeting whitefish. And whitefish is our bottom feeding fish. They're actually eating on the goby, which is an invasive species, and they're cruising through those rocks on those really big, deep breaks. So we're targeting those big, big cliff edges out there, and we're putting our shacks kind of spread out between the whole entire thing till we cover a lot of water. Then if it's, you know, the bite's in 50 foot one day and they're on top of the hump, we're up there and we can pull our shacks over there quick so everyone can get on them, but sometimes they might be on the deep side, just depends on the day.
Yeah, we saw that a little bit today. You know, we started in a deeper house and we were kind of on the back side of a little rock mound, you know, and it kind of seemed like those fish were kind of moving past. But again, you guys on the phone talking to the other houses, we moved over, we got on the bite in some shallower water. And then the big thing I saw today was that color made a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. Color, it can change any day, minute by minute, day by day. It all depends what they want that day. And I mean, with it, we're being in that deep water, 50, 80 foot, we don't know until the day of. You know, it can change. We have our certain selections of colors that we go through every single day, but we always try and start people out with a variety of colors. You know, we start them out with dark colors, light plastics, and then we change it throughout the day.
Absolutely. Yeah, today, you know, we were jigging kind of like a baby bass emerald shiner color, you know, and then your boy Squeaky came in and he was throwing more of a green pumpkin purple flake, and boom, right away, he caught 2 in a minute. We switched to that, and then we finally caught a few more too. So those little tweaks can definitely make a big difference.
Absolutely. If your plastic's not on there correctly, if your wax rims aren't on there correctly, you're not gonna do as well as if everything is perfect.
So right here, Luke, we're early February right now, and gosh knows that this is the best ice season we've had in a few years.
Absolutely.
I know you guys are probably happy about it.
We're super happy. It looks like we're gonna get through the whole entire month of February, maybe even make it into March a little bit this year, which would be a great season considering the past 2 years we haven't really had any fishable ice with the hard houses by far.
Absolutely. So even though this show's coming out mid-February, there's still time for people to call you guys and book if they want to get out, or something to add for next year. Great Christmas present, you know?
Yep, we offer gift certificates. You can call Nolan at any time. You can get on the schedule at any time for the following year. We got 10 permanent shacks out there. We got definitely enough room for whatever group size that people want. We'll make it happen.
And speaking of the busy guy himself, I think I see Nolan. Nolan, come here. Come over here. Oh man, did you shoot that thing today? Nolan, you know, I want everyone to hear you, but before we leave here today, let me get my microphone out here. If people want to book with you, how do they get a hold of you?
They can go on my website at Nolan's Top Gun Charters.
Nolan's Top Gun Charters?
Yes, and you can give me a call at 262-305-3938.
All right, everyone. Well, hey, from Luke, Nolan, I'm Jim O'Neill from Midwest Outdoors. Make sure to like and subscribe. We like to see you guys every week here at the show. Who knows where we're going to be in 2 weeks, but we're going to have a great time. Until then, guys, tight lines, and we'll see you on the water.